What?
Sorry. I was listening to the story. I was not ignoring you, but I got a emergent mahjong question text.
A mahjong question text?
Okay, so I've talked about my obsession with mahjong in the last 6 months, right?
Right. Yes.
So I couldn't find I got a set of mahjong tiles for Christmas. I didn't want to I don't want to try and play with people who already know mahjong because I would be the biggest idiot walking in. So I wanted to kind of learn it myself. So I found 3 people who were interested in learning it to play with me. Yeah. And so what happens is we all play and they're starting to really love it, but I constantly get these emergent texts of what am I doing wrong? Why can't I win? And it's always pictures of their hand. And I'm trying to figure out why she can't win. It doesn't quite make sense. Not south.
So are you like their teacher?
Kinda. I mean,
their sensei?
Oh, she doesn't have it. She doesn't have any yaku. That's why.
That's it. It's just the yaku. You don't got the yaku. You can't do nothing. Yeah, definitely. Whatever that means, I'm sure.
I couldn't possibly explain what I'm.
I was just
this
about
game
to say,
is so fucking complicated, Neil. It's
the words
insane.
that you are saying have no bearing on anything.
Okay,
you could literally start saying it's see, the north facing building has bacon, so you can't play the habuji. I'm just what?
Right. Do you remember How I Met Your Mother? You watch it a lot with Kayla, right?
I've been in the room enough to have said that I've watched maybe 50% of it. I know enough about the show.
Okay, I don't know if you're gonna get the reference, but there's an episode where they're in Atlantic City and they're trying to
the complicated game thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah. No,
I mean, it's not mahjong. That's not mahjong. But playing mahjong is like trying to figure out what that game was about. Is the best explanation I can give. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
No, you're totally fine.
It just happens. I get it regularly from any of the 3 of them. I guess I'm the master. I'm not really the master because I still don't even quite understand how the game works. I use an app to score everything because it's so complex. But basically, anytime they're whatever, especially Jacqueline, Phil's wife, is the worst. Not the worst. She's great, but she's the one who's texting me constantly because she's the most into the game other than me.
Yeah.
So, I will constantly get, just a picture of her hand, and she'll be like, why can't I win? And I gotta explain to her. It sucks, too, because there's always a reason, and then I have to explain to her why she's wrong and the computer's right. It's terrible. It's like if somebody was constantly coming to you every time their pet died and being like, why is the pet dead? And you're like, it's dead. It's definitely dead. It's not going to be alive no matter how much you want it to be. And that it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking every time because I've got to be the bad guy. The minute I receive a text from her on it, I'm like, well, I'm going to ruin somebody's dreams.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zach Rye with Old Man Gaming, and for whatever reason, you have decided to tune into another Horrible Gaming Podcast, and we welcome you here. And by we, I am not now nor never alone. With me is...
The Arcade Title Wizard!
I'm home alone, so I can do that.
I was about to say, man, everybody in your house is awake now. You actually peaked the volume a couple of times.
I heard it. I was trying to not do that. I physically tilted my head up and like cupped my hands so the sound all went up, and it didn't matter.
All right. Well, before we get into the show itself, let's go ahead and do a couple of quick credits and mentions, and that is number one. If you're watching this on YouTube, behind the fancy timestamps, you are seeing fancy graphics. Those fancy original graphics were provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And as far as the theme song goes, the theme song of this show and all the shows here at Old Man Gaming are provided by Nick Van Siders, the man who makes the music, and we thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to Fan Traction, our first and probably our most important segment. This is where we, the co-hosts, like to talk to you guys, the fans, and we do that by reading all your comments here on YouTube and in all the places, such as Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and anywhere we can find them. We also use those comments to decide the horrible arena and just, generally take stock of you guys out there talking to us guys in here. So, let's get into it. Kev Tutal started us off, of course, saying, "Ugh, so much complaining. Eye roll." I did reply to him and say, "You're welcome." He then continued and said, "As this cold open rolls, I think I forgot to go vote, laugh out loud." To which I responded, "You did." To which he responded, "It would have been for you. I meant to, but was away from my phone when I listened, and boom, old man memory." I get it, Kev. I get it. And I won anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Then he continues, Fan Traction, the sequence. I don't know what that means. I didn't know what he was referring to there. Yeah, he just has this one comment that just says Fan Traction, the sequence. I have no idea. Then he said, "Yep, I failed," when he realized that he hadn't voted, to which I responded to him, "Not voting does not equal failure." To which he then said, "I can't believe I forgot to vote." To which I then once again said, and I say this to all of you out there, seriously, we are here to entertain you, not the other way around. And that's the truth. Guys, we really appreciate when you vote. We really do, and we love it when you do. If you don't have to feel bad. We're entertainment for you, not the other way around. Seriously. This isn't your job. This is our job that we don't get paid for.
The internship. It's an internship.
It's a nonstop internship forever, and we don't get credit anywhere.
You just don't get the job.
Right. Kev Tutal then weighed in on the Halo conversation we had. Elites in multiplayer is certainly cut content for time. Dual wielding in multiplayer, unless expressly mentioned, was probably not in the cards to begin with. If it was dropped, speaking about the elites, it's just laziness. I've said it before. What the hell was 343 doing? What have they really been doing for the last 6 years?
Apparently just building out that engine.
Oh, it's such a load of BS,
Groundbreaking engine.
It's such a load of BS. You've got... I also want to point out Cyberpunk built an engine along with their crappy game. I don't understand. It just doesn't take that long. I just don't believe that it took that long.
I mean, they built their engine as they were building the game, and it was bad all around.
Right.
So,
right.
Then
Kev says something that I'm definitely going to disagree with. He said, if Halo Infinite doesn't come out, Microsoft might as well bow out. This will crush them if it doesn't come out. To which I responded and said it wouldn't touch them or affect them in any way financially. Kev, I love you, buddy, but this is an agree to disagree situation. This would not affect them in any way. And you want to know why I have proof of that? Because it hasn't affected them for the last 6 years when a Halo hasn't come out. It's not that big a deal. Sure, they'll take some negative press, but nobody who has Games Pass is going to drop it because they're not getting Halo Infinite. And that's where they get all their money right now. I'm sorry. I don't think Halo is that important. I don't think it's even... I think the only people it's truly important to are Xbox fanboys right now.
I don't know. I do kind of agree with Kev. I know your thoughts on this, but I mean, sure, it's been, 6 years since a Halo game came out, but that's because they have been developing this. They've put Master Chief, there's so many brand deals in commercials for the Series X.
Yeah.
Even on the box and everything like that. And I feel like a failure to deliver on Halo Infinite, if they just like, nah, it's not what we like, it's not what we want, we're just gonna not cancel it and move on to the next thing. I don't think that would be the immediate, like, that there is what everyone would point to say Microsoft is dead and done. But I think that very well would be the first step, because at that point, I mean, they'd be just turning into Steam.
I disagree fully. And if they became Steam, they're not bowing out of anything. If they became Steam, they would be making just as much money as ever, probably more than PlayStation and Sony. I think, first of all, I don't think necessarily that they should never make a Halo game again. And I think if they came out and said Halo Infinite isn't what we want it to be, we're going to reassess and come back to Halo as soon as we can, but we want to give you a quality product, especially in a post-Cyberpunk 2077 world, they'd be fine. I mean, there'd be plenty of naysayers, but the fact is that this company has survived just fine without any real exclusive content for years now, absolute years now. So the idea that Halo, a game that we haven't even seen a good one of in possibly 10 years, is the make or break for this game, it's just ridiculous. I mean, Halo 5 wasn't even that good. I mean, it had some good multiplayer, and everybody bitched about it the whole time. Like, it's just not make or break, in my opinion. They haven't needed any exclusives to be make or break.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, the Xbox One generation is basically considered a joke by a lot of people because of the lack of exclusives. I mean, like you had said, I don't think that they would be walking away from money. They would be just fine money-wise. But when it comes to actually, like, publishing and being a publisher, that's when they start to shift more towards Steam, because I don't what does Steam really even put out anymore that's like original?
Yeah, but that's the thing. As a publisher, they own 14 companies now? I mean, regardless of whether those games are just on Xbox or anywhere else, they're a publisher. They're probably the most prominent publisher right now in video games. I mean, just because of their portfolio of companies. So, like, the Halo thing wouldn't stop any of that. It wouldn't send them away. It wouldn't mean they bow out at all. It would mean they're still a publisher, and they're still a damn powerful publisher. And as far as being a joke, they can be a joke all they want, all the way to the bank. In any case, moving on. Kev Too Tall, this is Master Chief Forever. I think he's referring to the fact that it's never coming out, like it's taking forever to come out. I'm not sure. But it was interesting. Then we had Jason, who's a first-time commenter on the... Oh, is he a first-time commenter on the podcast? I can't remember if he's commented before. God, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible founder. just getting
first
people
time, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Well, everybody hates me on the internet today, Neil. Everybody hates me on the internet today. So Jason says, the only $60 game I bought was Cyberpunk, and that was only because a friend gave me $60 specifically to buy it. So $70 is still a no for me. So he will not be paying $70 for any future games. And more power to you, Jason. Neil gets my vote, says Kev Too Tall. Then he says, hey, look, I voted. So on the subject of that, Neil gets a point. So now we have Kayla chiming back in. And she says, man, if Neil would let me, I would totally throw glitter in everyone's faces. And then she says, I had to listen to the arena twice because I loved both pitches. I'm a sucker for simulation games. I loved both of them. But I think my vote this week is going to be Zach. I also then responded to her, anytime you see me, feel free to throw glitter in my face. She said, "Oh, don't give me that permission. I have so much glitter. So much."
I can confirm there's a ludicrous amount of glitter.
She could throw glitter on me. I don't care. My kid would love it. My kid would love it. Next time you come over, Kayla, toss some glitter in my face. I got no problems with it.
Don't.
I fear no glitter. I fear no. I mean, is it actual glass that's going to cut me? No. Glitter up. Glitter up.
Oh. You know not what you ask for, my son.
Okay, so that being said, I think that's it for fan traction, and unfortunately, my friend, that leaves us in a deadlock.
Yes, it does.
So another tie for the books. We are having a. I gotta say, this has been one hell of a battle. One hell of a battle in this horrible arena round. We've had tons of ties, and we're 13-13 right now. Like, it's close.
It's like watching. It's like watching paint dry. No progress at all.
Oh my God, Neil! When I go positive, you gotta go negative. Is that just like a requirement for you?
Unless you go negative, then I have to go positive.
One day I'm gonna go negative in a way that sounds positive, and it's gonna fuck you up.
I will sit here dead air for 5 minutes straight and figure out the right thing to say.
It'll be like beautiful mind numbers pouring down in front of you. All right. Well, that's fan traction. We tied. Honestly, of all the ones that we've had, I'm more okay with that tying than anything because those were so good. Both pitches, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, they were pretty good. Honestly, I can't remember if I mentioned or not. Like, yours sounds like a great, like, Nintendo Luigi's Mansion crossover.
Yeah. You had mentioned that it would be interesting to put like Luigi's Mansion as the main capper. That I can't remember if that was on air or in between.
I cannot remember.
I liked yours too. I think I would have pitched yours slightly differently, but I loved yours. I loved the idea behind it as well.
It's funny, this morning too, we sat down at the dining room table and Kayla just turned to me randomly. She's like, "So I voted this week." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, I'm sorry, I voted for Zach." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. It's all good.
It's within your rights. It's within your rights to do so."
It's totally fine. And she was like, well, I mean, yours was good too. Yours was good too. Like, y'all don't have to do that. Y'all don't have to do that. I will let it be known if I'm grumpy if I've lost to something.
You've been grumpy before, though. I want to point that out. You've been super grumpy before. There was a time when you were like, "I'm just pitching whatever because fuck it."
Oh, yeah. Because, like, I blew you out of the water at the beginning, and then I caught up. And it was pretty much the same.
I raised my game. I was
up by 7, and you were then just 7 in a row.
It wasn't quite 7 in a row.
That.
You're blowing that just a tad out of proportion.
Oh, that's not exaggeration. I literally just can't remember.
I believe you were up like 7, but what happened was I would win like 2, then you'd win 1, then I win like 3, and then you'd win 1. It was a quick catch up. I'll say that. But all right, well that's it for fan traction. Unless you got something else you want to add to it.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, in that case, let us go ahead and move on to our first talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first talking point of the evening. And it's an interesting one. Neil, why don't you lead us off into this one?
All right, so this was actually both on both of our odds and ends, but we're just going to tackle it as a full talking point. So Activision laid off 190 employees. 50 of those were in their esports division. They want to try to move away from that, apparently. But what is extremely just insidious about this is they were given a 90-day severance and $200 in credit to BattleNet. But all of this is going on, and Bobby Kotick is set to get a $200 million bonus after year record profits. The studio continues to close. The developer continues to close studios, and it's just ridiculous. Shareholders aren't happy about any of this. They fake this growth basically by just cutting overhead. It's ridiculous. I can't with this guy. Like I just can't. Like, you're firing people, laying them off and giving them gift cards to the place essentially that they were laid off from. Yet the guy at the top has been ranked multiple times as one of the most overpaid CEOs in all companies in America.
Yeah.
I can't. This is just ridiculous.
Look, a lot of times you and I disagree on things, and sometimes we disagree on things that I don't even like. I disagree with you in a way you're not expecting. You know what I mean? That's not what's happening right now. This is awful, and this is the kind of thing that needs to stop in gaming. It just needs to. I mean, when you're looking at some of these guys are worse than like Jeff Bezos and shit like that, because these guys there's just no rules, and they just take advantage of every system that they can at the cost of so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. This I am brought back to what happened with Gearbox last year, where basically they cut out everybody's bonuses, and then the CEOs got a bunch of money later in that year. Like stuff like that. It's like you're still going to get your money. Why don't you pay your employees,
Right. And it's a 90-day severance, so I mean they're at least paying them for 3 months, which is fine. And I'm sure you can sell that $200 of BattleNet to get $100 or something. That is the part that really gets me. If I got fired from somewhere, right, or laid off from somewhere, like, hey, we're not going to be able to keep you on anymore. We're really sorry. We're going to give you some money to take care of yourself for a little bit, but we got you a little something for going away. Here's a gift certificate. Come on back and see us. Like, are you kidding me? I'm sure they would have much rather appreciated another $200 in their severance.
And now, here's my thing. Here's the only defense that I will have for that, and I'm not defending the company, but they should have just given them more money. That being said, they can really only give the gift card that they are, right? Like, they can't give you a KFC gift card,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I mean, they should have just given more money. I'm making a joke, but they can't really here's a McDonald's gift card,
Yeah, I don't. And then I didn't do more research into this.
Oh, that's okay.
But apparently,
we don't do research here. Research? What the fuck are you talking about?
I try to do research. I tried. And journalistic.
Us scrolling IGN daily and stealing their stories is not doing research.
No, I actually whenever I do a terrible talk and whatnot, I actually try and just make sure I know what I'm talking about. It doesn't always work.
You don't have to get defensive. I was just making a joke. Joke.
Oh yeah, no. We don't have enough subscribers yet to care about journalistic integrity.
Right. Maybe at 500. Maybe at
500 we'll start giving two shits. I'll put an extra 10 minutes into research on the shitter.
We'll just start saying sources close to us before we say everything.
Sources close to us.
Make it sound like we know what we're talking about a little bit.
Holding my phone tightly against my chest. It's very close to me. But anyways, from what I understand, the shareholders are really pissed at Bobby Kotick that he's doing all this stuff and he's just so grossly overpaid. And his contract apparently is written in such a way that just provides him with constant loopholes.
Yeah. And it's definitely insidious. It's definitely terrible. And I really don't understand when a company's losing as much as they are. Well, there's a couple of things. I don't understand how they're losing money. Like I don't understand. Like the things that they have are still very lucrative. So I don't understand how they're losing so much money that they have to lay off. What was it, like 190,000 or something?
Yeah. Well, it was 190 like individual people.
Oh, okay.
But they aren't losing money. That's the thing.
Right.
Is they grow, and their growth is not improved enough over the previous quarter or the previous year. So to bolster that growth, they just cut people loose,
which is insane. Like that,
which is disgusting.
I mean, there's so many downsides to doing that, and like, I guess like look, money. Everybody wants to make. I mean, like it's all about money, you know. I get that to an extent, but I feel like there's a point, especially nowadays, especially in 2021, which is all about social media and, you know, internet presence, and information gets out so fast and so quickly into everybody's hands nowadays. I almost feel like what's it worth to, what's the bad press of this worth? Like, I feel like, okay, I guess if you showed me a math equation of, hey, this X amount of dollars, X amount of people, this is why we cut them, blah, 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 it would look good on paper, but then you just get shit on for like all of this stuff, and the information gets out super fast. It's not like it's going to be swept under the rug or somebody's not going to see it. Gaming has one of the biggest spotlights on it it's ever had in its entire history as an industry. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why you don't stop and think, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that, you know?
I mean, I think it's more so they know that it's going to be money on money anyways. But
they're so sure that people are going to buy their products.
They're so sure, yeah. And at that point, then it's just arrogance.
Yeah,
but it's
arrogance definitely feels like the right answer there.
Yeah, and I just totally blanked on what I was going to say.
No, I don't understand too these guys either. Like this Bobby Kotick and these guys. Like, if you had that much money, like. If I had that much money, I would want all the good press I could buy because I have that much money. I can afford it. I would pay them out of pocket and then tell every internet person that I paid them all out of pocket. I would look like a saint. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why they value, like, when they get to that point where they're that rich, why they value more of that money that they can't possibly spend in their lifetime over... like, just looking good at that point.
Just thought of something, too. Like, to your point, Bobby Kotick is getting $200 million in bonuses.
Okay.
Not just his salary, bonuses. If he were to take $1 single million of that money and divide it amongst, let's just say, 200 people to round that off, that got laid off, he could give them $5,000 each.
Yep.
For literally 0.5% of what it is that he's getting.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like, and don't get me wrong, I understand unmitigated greed. I get it. I get that as a human emotion. There's got to be a point where you have all the money. I mean, that's what he has. He has all the money. He has every dollar that he's ever going to need plus $1 million. Basically. So, like, at that point, when does it become like, well, I have all the money. Why don't I just get all the everything else? Like, that's what I don't understand about these guys. Like, they get to that point. Like, I get the, like, real evil shit getting up to that because that's how they got there. But once you get there, man, I would be like, well, now I want to die looking like a fucking saint, you know? So I'll just do whatever I want with all this money. You know, like, I don't understand that. That's the mentality I don't understand. Like, why would they now publicly be a douchebag constantly, you know?
And this has to be doing damage long term for the employees that are there. I'm sure the morale of the employees that are still there is shaken. And they're making a name for themselves within the community. Like, they're not going to attract developers.
Right.
They'll attract maybe some very high level executives because, you know, Bobby Kotick's getting $200 million in bonuses.
Right.
What can I get? Like, I'm sure that's an appeal for higher up people, but I know I wouldn't take a job knowing full well that it's almost like clockwork now. Every year they purge hundreds of people.
Right.
Like, I would not take a job doing that, knowing full well I'd only be there possibly for a year. Then I have to start worrying about my job.
Especially if I could get a job anywhere else at all. Like, if I had any other offer on the table, I'd take it over that, even if it was less, because, you know, they're going to can people. I mean, this is like the third or fourth year in a row they've done this.
Yeah.
And
like, I can't.
They make money hand over fist. Like, they make money. There's no visible reason to lay these people off. You know?
Yeah, and that's when it just comes back to them trying to make ends meet via the, like, growth perspectives and stuff like that. And yeah, sure, the investors want that growth. They want that, you know, return on their investment.
Right.
But at the same time, what is that return worth if a portion of the proceeds that are going, you know, of the profit that they're making is just going to one single dude?
Right.
And that's what they're pissed about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like, it all goes to this guy. And, like, this guy just values himself higher than 198 other people. And, like, What's so crazy to me is I get him valuing himself more than 190 other people. I mean, everybody in some way thinks about themselves first, but wouldn't you want to look like you don't, you know? Like, I don't know. It's just so illogical to me, the way that these guys treat their own companies and their own people.
I mean, the developers and people working in the gaming space, I feel like, especially now, since things like crunch have really been brought to the forefront, have been seen as disposable. Like, it's been kind of that has been the front facing view as, well, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Right.
And I think that's also perpetuated by the fact that, sure, you can send somebody else somewhere else because, you know, they don't like the conditions and they'll have, you know, whatever else that they want at that new place. But they can do that because there's also a line of people waiting for that open spot that's being given up. So, I mean, the problem's kind of twofold.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. And I don't know and I don't know the correction. You know what I mean? I don't know the solution on that because I definitely don't want the government to get involved because they never do anything right. So, like, but at the same time, it's like they are perpetuated on the backs, like, especially companies like Activision. Okay, Activision is basically on the backs of games that are, like, straight up made to be addictive. Like, that's what they are. You know, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, you know, stuff like that. Like, games that are just like they know that there are always going to be people buying the next thing for that, you know? And it doesn't matter what they could do. Like, this Bobby Kotick could literally on live TV shoot a woman in the face, and they're still going to go out and buy the next Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
and that's the problem here. Is it's not like nobody's gonna boycott these games. Nobody's gonna walk away from it, and as long as they don't, there's no way to check that company. It could just literally do whatever it wants.
Yeah, I mean the same goes for any other one out there, like the whole Ubisoft harassment stuff that was going on.
Right.
I mean that there too. We all heard about it. It all came out. I mean, you can't necessarily separate what happens within the company from the product, but at the same time, you know, people who don't know anything about it, you know, they don't know, they're none the wiser to the situation.
Well, and gaming is a very interesting industry in the fact that it is both very much in the zeitgeist and very much not. So like when you're looking for news, you will see like, you know, like when the Me Too movement hit, you know, movies, you saw it. You saw it every day. You saw all the accusations every day. It was constantly there. You know what I mean? When stuff like that hits movies and Hollywood, it's everywhere. You see it everywhere. With video games, you hear about the new video games coming out, and you hear about how good they're doing, but you don't necessarily hear about all that backroom bullshit evil stuff. And it's weird. It's like they've found some way where, like, unless you're somebody who seeks out video game news, you're not going to get that stuff. You're only going to see the next trailer for Call of Duty or the next this for that, you know? They've really found a way to control the flow of information in a very not so lighted way, you know?
Well, and that goes back to the video game news outlets that we really have will try to stay away from that stuff because they don't want to get blacklisted, anything like that.
Well, and I've talked about that before.
You have?
Are we going to do this in every episode? Find a way to, like, plug one of our terrible talks?
Yeah, sure. Why the fuck not?
I mean, you've also done one on Crunch. That was very popular, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it was, but I think we gamed the algorithm on that one.
I think we gamed... Neil... Anyone we win, we game the algorithm. Like, anyone we get, we have somehow gamed it. That's, like, YouTube is about gaming YouTube. Like, that's all it is, man.
I mean, that's true.
Right. There's, like, no legitimate way to win YouTube. Like, that's, like, YouTube isn't even set up that way.
All of YouTube.
Oh, right.
First, we shall conquer the YouTubes, then the interwebs.
Oh, hey, if we conquer YouTube, that's it. We've won. We got everything else. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And that's something I pointed out. It's one of the reasons we don't get necessarily fair reviews of video games, because video game companies control the information because video game news outlets like need early passes and early days from them. They lord that over them, you know?
Yeah.
And because of that, they're never going to give you the full story. They're never going to give you I mean, there are some. I'm not saying there are never some. IGN has reported on some, like, nasty stuff in video games. But, like, overall, you're not going to hear the, like, really terrible shit because they want to get those games early, you know?
Right. So,
I don't know. I think it's a real tricky situation and a real bad place to be in. And I've said it, like, video games is in a really weird place as an industry. It's the Wild West, man. There's no rules. The industry itself is making money hand over fist. They've never been as big as they are, and because of that, everything is fair game. Like it's Mad Max. There's anything goes until it doesn't. You know?
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know how long this is gonna last.
Ever.
Ever, right. Well, I think we may have covered that. Did we spend enough time on it?
I would say so.
All right, well, let's go ahead and pause, go to the second talking point then.
Okay.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our second talking point. And we got another freaking digital event. Seems like we get one every week. We're going to get into that. But it was Square Enix out of nowhere decided to do a digital event. And they're not really known for doing a ton of digital events that I know of anyway. But they decided to announce some stuff. And what they decided to announce was basically nothing. I'm going to give you a rundown of the big points because everything else was kind of whatever. But somehow, I don't know how they are continuing to put their eggs in the basket that is Marvel's Avengers. But the first big announcement from it is that the next big character coming is the Black Panther. So they've done 2 Hawkeyes. Now they're going to do Black Panther, finally do a different character. And the Black Panther update will also include some Wakanda stuff, which might be interesting. I don't know. Before we move on, I want to get your take on that, Neil.
I mean, if they put, like, Wakanda as, like, a whole new, like, with stuff to do in it, I think that they're finally onto something. But what I find interesting is just the other day I had seen an article that they're just now really starting to like get to work on developing the Spider-Man character for PS4. Yep. So, like you said, 2 Hawkeyes back to back. Now we have Black Panther announced, which we're going to assume is finally going to come with some sort of new content for the game.
Well, in fairness, there is some new content for the Hawkeye stuff. I don't know how in-depth it is, but there is some new content for the latest Hawkeye thing. The first one, no, it was just her, but the newest one actually supposedly has some new content. I don't know the extent of it, though, because there is some like extra story beats to it.
Well, I mean, from what it sounds like with the Black Panther thing, that it's actually going to be like a full-on, like, explorable area, which is great.
Well, but I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. But again, where's all this stuff like, hey guys, we're finally starting to work on the game and putting more stuff out. We're not just doing damage control. But again, the PlayStation version is supposed to have Spider-Man. That was the big thing. Like, hey guys, get the PlayStation version because Spider-Man's going to be there inherently being the quote-unquote best version of the game with the addition of that character. And we're still like nothing with it. It's them just dropping the ball more.
They actually said officially that Spider-Man will not come until after Black Panther at the very earliest. So yeah, Spider-Man's pretty far off. So to go off what you said, I think you made some great points and a lot of the things that I was going to say. Number one, I do like to see a character that doesn't have to do with bow and arrow for a change. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big Hawkeye guy. I like Hawkeye. I don't think that it's smart though for the game to release 2 characters back to back that are not even close to the most favorite Avengers characters coming off the game being lackluster, you know?
Right.
That being said, I think Black Panther is a smart move. He's a popular Avenger right now. He's very well known in everything. Plus, you had the very sad news about Chad Boseman, so that put it even more into everybody's, mind's eye. I think that it's a smart move. I will say this. If they do add some more fucking scenery to this game, and some different bad guys, yes, it will be a very good update, and it will be exactly what this game needs, a little breath of fresh air. I don't think we're going to get that, though. I think we're going to get more fighting robots with Black Panther instead, and that annoys me. That makes me very sad. After that announcement, though, we then got... correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't ever remember hearing about Project Athia in the first place. But basically they revealed that Project Athia is actually Forspoken, and they showed a small trailer with some very light gameplay stuff, which looked kind of more like a vertical slice to me. And they had this weird interview with the actress who's playing the main character. And yeah, it looked like kind of like an open world thing. They didn't really tell you anything about the game. There's just some crazy stuff. You see her. You're in kind of a world that's destroyed. You see a dragon. She's surprised about the dragon. She says a bunch of swear words. Then you see her kind of like running through some trees and running through some mountains and stuff, and then it says Project Athia is now Forspoken. And before this, you had the actress saying, "We're going to show you a sneak peek," and it's been, the usual actor rigmarole. It's been an honor to work with him and to craft this world, yada yada yada, pre-written. And that was it. That's what it is. I don't know if you've seen that trailer.
I did not watch the new trailer. Okay. I do remember whenever it was first announced, though. I believe it was last year. I remember that it exists, and I remember seeing that and going, huh. But that was about it. So I do have to go back and take a look at that and see if that would be something that's actually worth my while.
It looks graphically interesting. It definitely reminded me a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn without the robots. But look, all that aside, we've been getting these digital events now for about 6 months. And we got a whole digital event from Square Enix to basically announce Black Panther in a game that nobody's playing right now, and Project Athia is now Forspoken. I feel like just shut up for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the problem is whenever we would have a big event, like let's say 5 years ago.
Okay.
We knew E3 was the big one.
Right.
Tokyo Game Show and
PAX,
PAX, stuff like that.
Gamescom.
We knew that nothing really came out news-wise outside of those things. So whenever those things rolled around, it was go time. Like we knew this is where we're going to get all the good stuff. And then everybody kind of slowly started on their own volition before, COVID began.
Yeah, I do want to point out this was started before COVID. It was accelerated by COVID, but it was you even look back at Xbox's XO thing that they did. That was a good show. I thought it was a good show, but it was like their own E3 basically. Yeah,
they started with this we're going to do our own thing, and it's going to fall outside of the major stuff. That's when they started showing stuff to be like, they don't want to compete with everyone else. We want our own little slice of time to show you what we have, to not really be vying for anyone's time. And then last year, it started to break down even more, because now it's like, okay, we do E3 month, but we have all of we're going to save some of our bigger stuff for later. So it would finish with stay tuned for more. Right. And now they're just segmenting it off more and more and more, to the point that we have gone in reverse all the way back to the beginning, to where we know these little shows are only going to have little tidbits of information and nothing major. And come June, whenever E3, quote unquote, E3 time rolls around again, that's when we know we're going to get all of our heavy hitting information. So they started there, broke it down into its own thing, to the point that they had to revert back to having these E3 events. These little shows that they keep putting up like this, like I said, there may be one thing that's really interesting or means something to somebody, but that you're not going to get any of these groundbreaking, earth-shattering announcements, anything like that at these shows. So it's not that I hate that they exist, but I personally don't care about them.
Well, what bothers me is, I kind of hate that they exist. Not that they exist in general, but I don't understand the point of them, I guess. Before pre-COVID, right? You had the I.O. and you had the Sony and other things, and they would actually make a show out of it. There would be people there would be a celebration, it was like a mini E3 for them, right?
Yeah.
And that was along with the trailers. Then COVID happened, they couldn't do that. So what we started getting was these dumps of trailers, because there isn't any celebrity pageantry or anything to it. Ubisoft's probably the biggest with the in-between talking people and whatnot. But for the most part, it's just, here's a trailer, here's another trailer, here's another trailer, here's another trailer, bye. And it's, Why are we doing that? Like, especially now when I feel like we get one of these from a company every week. I think every week or two, somebody's like, we got a digital event on Thursday, and then it's like 2 games and a DLC. And it's all trailers, and it's all trailers you're going to get later on IGN. Like, the minute they're done, they're going to go up there too, So it's like, I'm at a point where I've got kind of like fatigue with them. Like, you've sucked all the life out of it.
Yeah, I feel like if we had an early spring, even
right.
Late winter, early spring one at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Then we have our big summer one that is the look ahead to the rest of this year and going into next year.
Right.
And then the one final, here you go, at the end of the year before the holiday season. I think we would be good.
Yeah.
But like you said, like we're taking an hour and a half's worth of information that would normally come at a major event, and we're just chopping it up to shovel out to everybody
in hour-long specials. Right. In like hour-long specials to like take up your time every other week. And it's like, it just takes all the excitement out of it. Now Xbox has announced another showcase to focus on indie developers at the end of March. Why? Why do we need this? Why not just save that, make your big show in June twice as long, like, and have cooler stuff in between? Like, why are we doing it this way? And it just seems so stupid. It almost feels like school ground. Like, one company's like, digital event. Another one's like, yeah, well, digital event. And it's just like, they're just constantly tossing them around now, and I don't know. It's ridiculous in my opinion, and I'm just sick of it. Just, if you don't have anything to show us, just shut the fuck up. Or if you have a trailer for it, just put the trailer out. Just, hey, we got a trailer for you. Here's a trailer. Like, don't announce a digital event and then show up with like nothing.
Yeah, or the when they have a full event, like Ubisoft did this, where they have their big announcement event or whatever, and
they're still doing their forwards.
Yeah, and they're like, well, stay tuned, because in 3 months we're going to have even more. Like, at that point, like, they know they have something to show us later and are waiting anyways. Why did we waste our time watching this one show now, when later, not much later, just a little bit later, you're going to have more information on other things?
Well, and what bothered me about the Ubisoft thing, too, was the first one they did actually had some sizable announcements in it. It had some good stuff. And it was actually put together, like, even though you didn't have the crowd, you had some hijinks, you had some hosts. It was put together a little bit more like a digital E3 should be, And then the one that came out after it had, like, 2 trailers. And it's like, okay, so you got us hyped for that. And then they have settled into this thing now where it's like, we're doing a forward and it's like 40 minutes and it's 3 trailers and nothing, Like, I feel like they've all settled into this this pattern of just slinging out trailers as digital events, and it's bullshit. Even the Nintendo Direct. We had a full Nintendo Direct and it was garbage,
Yep.
They didn't have anything. I mean, Nintendo Directs were like sacred. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, a Nintendo Direct, that's gonna be awesome." And it was like one weird dude talking to us about stuff we didn't care about,
And again, it goes back to that cycle, because that was the first one it was like a year or something like that.
That was a full one, yeah.
That was a full, like, big actual Nintendo Direct. Everyone expected, good things from this. And then we didn't get anything that we pretty much wanted. There was some stuff in there, I guess, like if you're a fan of Splatoon. But outside of that, like, we know that they're going to have another one this summer. So, again, even Nintendo is starting to feed into that whole system. And Nintendo used to be the trendsetter, truthfully.
Right. And we even had a guy come out to tell us he didn't have things. Like...
Yeah,
that's what our show is. You parade a dude out to be like, we don't have a thing for you that you want. Like, good God, man, don't waste our time. Just don't put the show out. Like, it's not like anybody's going to be like, we haven't had a Nintendo Direct in exactly this many weeks, riot. You know, it's going to be like, if you don't announce it, we're not going to get excited about it. And when you do, we will. So just wait till you have something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole process has gotten kind of crazy. And again, it feeds into the kind of the Wild West stuff. It's just like everybody's trying to figure out how to do everything the best way, and everything's going to get tried, you know? And I don't think this is the right way. Like, we've already lost our traditional E3. We've lost our traditional, like, game kind of festival type situations. So at least like consolidate this stuff a little bit better, you know?
Yeah.
Plus, you don't control the news cycle when you do that, like, at all. Like, the Square Enix one, I didn't even know there was an event until 2 days after it.
I had seen that there was something the day of.
Right.
But still, like, maybe because it was Square Enix, like, I love Square, but there's nothing that they have in the pipeline that would, you know, be of any real interest to me outside of the Final Fantasy VII stuff, which apparently, I guess they had at that show too. But even still,
they did. Again, and it goes back to the fact that about it.
Yeah, it's like information about a DLC.
Right.
So I'll watch it eventually, but I'm not clamoring for it.
Right.
If Nintendo put out something that was like, hey, you know, like Breath of the Wild 2, something like that, I would be chomping at the bit to find that trailer and watch the thing.
Right.
Because that's like a big major game. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, it was a big major game. It came out already, and now we're talking about DLC.
Right.
Sure, DLC's all fine and good, but it's DLC.
Right.
A DLC episode, not like a whole new game mode, doesn't change the formula, anything like that. Even the Avengers thing.
Right.
How many people saw the Avengers thing who like cared enough about Avengers still to like, oh my God, Black Panther's coming next? Like,
Right. I think I'm going to go back into it and try and re-review it. Just see where it's at after this amount of time. Because I
think you should.
I haven't played it in a long time, and I kind of feel like maybe it'd be an interesting one to do a re-review. Because I did Anthem a year later, so I think maybe I'll go back into it, and if I could pull myself away from Warframe long enough. But still, like, this kind of stuff just drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts because it's useless to anybody who's doing it. But I don't know. Do you got anything more to add to this, or should we move on?
I think we can move on.
All right, let's go to odds and ends.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to odds and ends. In this segment, we like to catch smaller news stories that don't necessarily deserve a talking point. We like to share them with you guys, the viewers, and just you know, riff on them a little bit, talk about them. So I've got 3, Neil. What did you have?
I've got 4.
Well, why don't you start us off then? Keep the numbers even.
All right. Well, I haven't talked about this game for a while because I haven't had a reason to, but now I do. Undertale is on Game Pass, so...
You just stole one of mine. I'm going to mark that off.
Oh, I stole one?
I was excited too because I know how much you love Undertale, so I was like, well, if he doesn't have this, I'm going to kind of make his day.
Yeah, I've already got halfway through it again. I saw the announced trailer for it, and the Xbox is the last place that it's not been on yet.
Yeah.
I saw the announcement and literally just turned to Kayla the other day. It's like, well, I guess I'm going to go through Undertale again.
I'm going to get some achievements for it this time.
Yeah, I've already got like 4 achievements.
Maybe I should review it. I'm afraid to review it though because I know you love it. I don't want to not like it. And our friendship come abruptly to an end.
No, it's okay if somebody doesn't like something. I think you would be able to play.
You hear that, Internet? It's okay if somebody doesn't like something.
Oh, jeez. You're just going to attract them. Stop it.
No, nobody listens to this one.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I think my guess is you would be able to appreciate what Undertale is and what like the new type of game that it is and the stuff that it does.
Well,
you can appreciate what the game does without having to enjoy the game, because there are some parts that are pretty tough.
well, and I try to be
others.
fair on that point in my reviews as well. Like a lot of times I'll be like, "This is a great game. I'm never gonna play it again," but this is a great game. So I will. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
And you'd be able to play the algorithm too, because the Undertale community is huge.
Well,
So,
I don't want more hate on the internet right now. I could do with a week of no hate. Thank you very much. All right. Well, you stole one of mine, so now I only have two. So why don't you go ahead again?
all right. I'll just do another dumb one. And this one's really dumb.
Okay.
So there's a streamer out there. His name apparently is _ Rudism. So this individual turned a baguette into a controller and used it to play Call of Duty Warzone online.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the science behind that.
I saw
like, did he just like wrap a baguette around a controller and then play through it?
It's a lot of like, basically there's buttons like all like rigged up, wired up all through this baguette. Like he just tore a controller apart and kind of just wedged the pieces into the baguette. So there's a little bit of this video. It can be found on Reddit. I'm sure if you Google Call of Duty baguette, it'll come up. But yeah, he literally it shows him playing it, and he does passable for somebody playing on bread.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think anything is passable if you're playing on bread.
Yeah, and he finishes off the video by taking a nice healthy bite out of it. So yeah, anything's a controller now apparently.
That's funny. All right, well, I guess I'll take one then. Kind of a bummer. I was mildly looking forward to this game. Gotham Knights has been delayed into 2022 with no release date. Just in case anybody needs a refresher course, Gotham Knights is the weird, not quite a sequel to Batman Knights. Batman Knight. Batman Arkham Knight. Jeez, sorry. Where basically you play one of the four kind of Bat Kids, and it was a little bit more of like a brawler, but it has multiplayer and solo aspects. This game looks really cool to me. Everything I've seen on it looks really interesting. They've said a lot of really cool stuff about how you level up your characters and how every character levels up at the same time, so you don't have to like go back and redo the stuff you've done before. You can play it all solo, or you can play a multiplayer. There's a lot of fun stuff to it. They've said a lot of fun stuff, so I was actually kind of excited about this one. It's kind of a bummer it got delayed into 2022, honestly.
Yeah, that's one I'll be interested to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
I played Arkham Asylum. I didn't get to play. I own Arkham City. I didn't get to play it, so I haven't got through the whole Arkham trilogy. But I enjoyed what I played of Arkham Asylum.
Well, Arkham Knights was slightly problematic on some of the story stuff, I think, personally. But overall, it was a good game. I do think that the end is real weird, and the way that they... like, this game doesn't... like... The way they've done this game doesn't quite make sense, but I like the idea of an Arkham kind of game with a multiplayer component, you know. I think this is a really smart way to do it, you know.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead with your next one, man.
Alrighty. A professor and student of entomology at Eastern New Mexico University have discovered 3 new species of beetle in Australia. You might be asking, why am I talking about new species of beetles? They have been given their scientific names: Benburum multres, Benburum zapidos, and Binburum Articuno, named after the legendary birds in the Pokemon games.
Very cute.
Apparently, they were given these names because these beetles are extremely rare and they are fans of the series.
Yeah.
So there are now actual literal bugs named after the legendary birds.
Oh, man. I bet you those beetle guys were like, we've finally done it. Pokemon are real.
Right.
We found the loophole. That is an interesting one, though. That is an interesting one. It's just funny where culture is going to be in like 5 to 10 years, because everybody who grew up with that kind of stuff is getting older. So like, how many things are going to be like named after that or like that,
I mean, people are buying and selling NFTs right now, so let's not even go down that rabbit hole.
Fair enough. All right, my last one is EA Play has finally launched on PC. I do want to point out I did not like the way that Xbox did anything with this EA Play thing. They added EA Play into Games Pass, but they very quietly delayed the PC version of it for like 4 months. And by quiet, I mean I had no idea and thought I was doing something wrong for like weeks until I finally found a Reddit post that said that it was delayed. What was even worse is I actually contacted EA support, and they told me that I needed a code from Xbox to get in. So they didn't even really realize that it wasn't there. Like, their help people didn't. So, I did not like the way that this went down. But it is finally available for PC. EA Play, all the EA Play games are now available through Games Pass.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even know that was a thing until literally just now. I had assumed that it was launching side by side, and it was just a part of it. But
yeah, I mean, it was like months. I thought I was doing something wrong. I would go back to it, try and figure out why it wasn't working. I thought it was something with my EA Play account. I thought it was something with my validation account. I even messaged this person who was like, oh, Xbox has to give you something. Then I tried to message Xbox. They never got back to me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it literally took me weeks until I finally found like a link on a Reddit page that took me to an Xbox help page that basically said it was delayed until sometime this year. Which was a little ridiculous. I mean, just to say it's delayed, it was kind of insane in my opinion. But it is finally available, and they've definitely haven't shied away from announcing it. But it is finally available on PC.
Alrighty, and then my last one. So NVIDIA has been using the RTX 3060's crypto mining limiters as a major selling point for those cards.
Okay.
Say they cut the hash rate. These are for gamers, and they can't be hacked. Well, if you tell the internet something can't be hacked, they're going to do it. In less than a month, they have hacked it, and then shortly thereafter, NVIDIA just accidentally released an update that just removes the limiter anyways. So yeah,
so now they're really
that's dumb and stupid.
Yeah. Sounds that way.
I don't understand. I really don't understand what they are doing at this point. I mean, truthfully, it's not like they're missing out on sales. Yeah, I mean, if anything, they're leaving money on the table because they know people are scalping.
Right.
I'm just worried moving forward in the next generation of these cards and processors and everything, seeing people spending this much money to get their hands on these new cards. Also knowing that people probably are just going to throw their hands up and say, screw it, on this series of cards and wait till the next generation comes out. I get the feeling they're going to just artificially crank the prices up on all of these.
Yeah.
So cards used to be, from my understanding, like $350 or so for a standard, video card. Now it's gone up this generation to about was 5, 6, 7 on a regular MSRP basis. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 8, 9, 1,000 next generation.
I mean, I believe I paid $500 for mine. That was right before everything got real scary,
And you have a what do you have?
I need to contact. Just take a look at my sheet real quick. I always forget the numbers. You know what I mean?
5700.
No, it's a 56. I've got a Sapphire 5600 XT. As far as graphics card goes. So yeah, and I paid. I don't think I paid quite 500, but it was in that region. I feel like that was one of the more expensive parts of my setup, if I recall correctly.
Right.
So, I mean, it usually is. It's that and the motherboard, right? But,
that and the processor.
Processor. Usually. Yeah. So yeah, I think. I tell you, man, there's two things I wish we could get away from: Cyberpunk and talking about fucking computer parts that aren't there. I mean, it's not your fault. I'm saying, like, the news, it just keeps coming up.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon.
No.
They've actually that one company in Taiwan that basically makes the silicone wafers for literally everything in the entire world.
Right.
I guess there had been an announcement recently that they are going to open another factory
Oh!
to speed up production. But it won't be ready until like 2022, 2023, something along those lines. So, I mean, we are going to be in the situation we're in for a long time. And given my situation, I don't have to care about this stuff for a while. So it is strictly newsworthy, and that's it.
Right. You know, yeah, I mean, and it sucks because, like, we forget what, like, you know, on the stream, I was on the stream with Phil, and we had another guy ask us about, like, how to get a graphics card. Well, you can't. Like, they're just not findable. He's got every part of his rig but a graphics card. It's just a real bummer. It's a real bummer with anybody building a PC, especially since, like, we went PC. We preach PC here, and now nobody can get it, you know? That's a real bummer. But, all right. So I think that's it for odds and ends. You want to go to Horrible Arena?
Sure.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show, the moment you've all been waiting for, the main event, the Horrible Arena. What is the Horrible Arena? If you have never watched or listened before, well, first of all, please watch and listen more. We like to talk to you guys. Secondly, it is where us, the co-hosts, pitch you guys a game based on pre-existing criteria that is either picked by a guest, if we have one, or we take turns choosing what the criteria is weekly. Then we put it out to you guys which one you would spend your hard-earned money on if you had to choose, and you tell us in the comments, and we use those comments to decide the winners. The pre-existing criteria from last week was platformer. The quantum coin has been tossed. Neil won it. Neil, take it away.
All right. So my project is called Project Wayward, and it's going to be done by Epic Games. So Project Wayward is a 2D puzzle platformer where the player starts at their designated starting position in whatever part of the level that would be, and has to make it to an end goal. Typical side-scrolly sort of stuff. When the level starts, it shows a zoomed-out view of the level showing the beginning and end right from the start, so the player can get a sense of all the direction they have to go and the obstacles and enemies that might be in the way. However, there are no platforms available to the player at all to use to progress. The player begins each level with a set amount of material in their inventory, things like stone, metal, and wood, and would be able to find them throughout the level to replenish their stock of those materials. The player would use the materials to build their way through the level to progress, selecting a space up to a certain distance away from them and making the platforms out of their wood or whatever material, like jump springs with the metal or walls or other platforms of your stone. Things like that would all be used to progress through the level, and at the end of the level, the player would be awarded points for speed of completion, as well as bonus points for fewer things built and materials used. The things that you can make are all contained in blueprints that the player can either find hidden throughout the map, or can be used or can be purchased between levels using the points that they are acquired during play. The player at any time can also destroy platforms that they've already built or items that they have made to regain materials. However, you only get a fraction of the return. So that would basically make it so somebody couldn't just build and destroy what's behind them. Eventually, you're going to run through your resources. The player could also build weapons to use against enemies throughout the course, like swords, but could also build things like cannons that could be used for traversal as well, to where you could load your character up into the cannon and shoot to a platform or area you want to get to progress. The game would also feature a time trial mode as well as a versus mode where two players build and race against each other in the same course, building platforms and obstacles that both players can use and be affected by along the way. So that is my project, Project Wayward.
Nice project, man. I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. All right, so my turn then. All right, so my game is called Project Hardcore, and what this is it will be developed by Arc System Works. They developed Hardcores, if anybody remembers that one, the kind of Contra independent follow-up sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mine will be a 2D platformer, but it will be also kind of procedurally generated and have kind of a weird games as service element. Basically, in present day, there are special people who get contacted by an alien race that lives on the other side of the galaxy. They're contacted subliminally through dreams. Basically, what they do is they contact these people. They tell them they can literally that they're hardcore and they can literally transverse their souls into these metal robot drone type things that give them kind of like superpowers. What'll happen is when the player gets put over the first time, they get 3 suits right off the bat that they can choose from. And each one of these suits has a different loadout and weapon set that is all procedurally generated by the game itself. With specializations and weaknesses, you can have your tank style suits that are a little bit slower but a lot more about damage. You can have speed running suits, all sorts of suits like that. Then what you'll do is you'll find a series of missions in this far distant galaxy, and these missions you'll be able to go into them and they will be procedurally generated as well based on pre-existing criteria. So like you'll be able to go into one mission where you have to it's a constant runner. Basically, you have to run. Something behind you is getting destroyed, and you have to get to a point without dying. There might be another one where you have to destroy a number of enemies in it, and you have to find them within the kind of like landscape, all 2D, kind of like a Dead Cells sort of thing. There'll be other ones where you have to find and steal certain things. And basically, because of this, the suits that you have will define which ones you take in and which missions you do. What's interesting about this game is anytime you get croaked, anytime you die in a mission, you actually lose the suit you're in, which basically makes you start kind of from scratch in a way. When you use a suit, that suit levels up, gets more powerful, allows you to do bigger and scarier missions as you go. In addition to that, you can find other suits out on these missions and add them to your armory, allowing you to pick whatever suit for whatever mission you want to as you kind of bring peace to this other galaxy. So that's my pitch. Project Hardcore. You've got Project Hardcore taking on Project Wayward. You guys let us know in the comments and all the places we tell you which one you would spend your hard-earned money on if you had to. Now, it is my turn finally, and I decided to do something a little experimental. We get a little experimental every once in a while, and I want to try something a little bit different, if that's okay with you, Neil.
Sure.
I want to do a special repitch round. This is what we're going to do. Each one of us are going to pitch a game that the other one has pitched before. We get to go back through, pick one of the games that the other person has pitched on one of the previous episodes during this 52 or even before that, and then repitch it next week in their own way. They can change the features, they can change how the game plays, they can change everything about the game, not everything about the game, but they can change what the game is and how they would do the basic premise of that game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
However, making me work.
What?
You're making me work.
Yeah, I am.
Go back
I'm making me
through.
work too. Because I gotta go back through. I'm not quite sure which one I want to do, honestly. But I thought it was an interesting idea that might be really
good
fun.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we haven't done before. I like, you've gotten experimental before. I figured I would once. I think it could be a lot of fun. And I think one thing it's cool is that, like, you could take one of my games and pitch it in a way that I'd be like, that'd be, a different way of doing it, and vice versa.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it would help if we had a list ahead of time. Do you have that written down as to what we did on what episode?
So I have all I have written down is do I still have that? Shit. I do. So I have everything in this 52, but the only thing I have is the title of the actual games themselves.
Well, I'm thinking I might just throw a dart at the wall and pick one and see what ends up happening with it. I mean, fortunately, you put a lot of work in on timestamps, so...
I mean, if I get a second this week, I'll type out all the titles of all the ones that I did, and then you could ask me what mine was about during the week.
At that point, I may as well just go back through the old episodes, which is fine. Like I said, you got timestamps on the YouTube version, so that'll make things a whole lot easier.
This is true. I do have timestamps on all the YouTube ones. So yes, this is true. All right. Well, we'll be right back with the plugs and the sign off.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, anything special you want to plug this week?
Well, we just had one of the final episodes of Prelude come out that Kayla and I joined Zach and Melissa. Stay tuned for next week when everybody starts yelling at me a lot.
And you deserve it. I'm going to say that every time.
I will let
every
everybody out there be the deciders of that.
I honestly, I'm excited for people to see that episode because of what Melissa, the phrase that Melissa coins, the invisible lat syndrome. I very excited about that part.
Outside of that, we are still doing Halo Infinite Road, and I do believe we are coming up here. We're getting close to the end of Halo 2, which means pretty soon we're going to be getting people together for Halo Infinite War.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is always fun. I made a map that we will be using in it. Don't worry, it's not anything stupid. Zach has looked at it, and
it's
by
good.
the way, I have fixed the issions that you pointed out.
Neil was real nervous about it. He was like, "Come look at this. I don't want people to be mad."
I just had to preface it with that because the maps that I used to make on like the 360 and everything in Forge for Halo were just like dumb. They always had some stupid gimmick somewhere along the way that just like made it nearly unplayable.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to get that together. I know there's a bunch more players that actually want to play with us too, so it's going to be even more chaotic, I think.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and they're all Philbilly's friends, so they're all crazy. All due respect to them, they're crazy. So we'll probably record that at some point soon. Was that the last thing you want to plug, my friend?
Yeah, that was about it.
All right, as far as I am concerned, I would like to plug everybody being nice on the internet for a change. If you could just maybe be nice. Maybe if somebody has an opinion that differs from you in a slight way and, I don't know, expresses that opinion to you in a respectful and kind way, maybe not, go batshit crazy on them. I'm just saying. Aside from that,
his ass is a little chapped.
A little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, the internet's the internet. I get it. But it's a little ridiculous, the reaction I got. In any case, I will always plug OMGW. Right now, we are in the second half of the season. I can't express to you how much work and time and pride I put into the show, and how awesome it is that we had such an outpouring of people providing voices and help with this series this time around. So we're definitely going to do a season 3, and season 2 has been phenomenal and only gets better. So please, every Monday it premieres, and I try and live chat with it. Check it out. Please check it out. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Good time. And yeah, other than that, we did take a day off from Godfall, because anybody who watched the last episode of Godfall understands why we took that day off. But I think just to get through it, me and Philbilly are going to crank the difficulty down to easy and just burn it up, because we just want to get it done. And then we'll probably be jumping into Outriders 330 when it comes out in April. So I'm kind of excited for that series.
Coming out on Game Pass.
Yeah. After I pre-ordered it on Steam. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's good for the game. It really is. It's good for the game. And I don't mind purchasing it, because it is a great game, and I'm happy to contribute to it, honestly. I'm happy to get the pre-order bonus on that one. It's one of those ones that I didn't really, and neither did Philbilly. I didn't really have any regret when they were like Games Pass, because it was like, you know what? I'm okay that I paid for that one. I'm all right with it.
Oh, see, I would have just canceled it immediately. It's like, I'm getting it anyway.
Well, yeah, the thing is, though, is your progress only carries over on the thing that you were playing it on in the first place, and I was playing it on Steam, so I would have had to play all of my demo stuff over again on Games Pass, which is not that big of a deal, but I don't know. I really liked it, so I felt okay with contributing to it. And, kind of like a free-to-play that you put a lot of time into, it's okay to spend some dollars on it,
Right.
So I was okay. I was okay that they got my money. And I'm okay that when it eventually leaves Games Pass, I'll still have it,
It's true.
Okay, so that's it, guys. Other than that, you can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. As usual, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next week. Yeah, you haven't seen that, I guess.
What?
You didn't check out the Monster Hunter video that I put up on Saturday?
Well, I saw you put up one saying that you're probably not going to get the game, but
Yeah, how dare I? It has 586 views. And 47 dislikes, and just a non-slop, endless slew of negative, crappy comments towards me.
Oh.
You know what? And, it's the internet, right? So, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But,
Right.
my negative videos. I hate being negative. I go overboard to, counterbalance it, So there's 5 minutes of disclaimers in there of hey man, if you like it, have fun with it, but this is why I'm not getting it. And basically I was saying that nobody on the internet is pointing out the things that aren't good about this game. I feel like somebody should, and man, fuck me for having an opinion. I'll tell you what, everybody came out. What bothers me even more about it is, we have 31 videos, roughly on average 31 videos in a month.
Yeah.
That being said, I would say on average, maybe 3 to 5 of them are negative videos, outwardly negative videos, where we are complaining about something or bitching about something the entire time, right?
Right.
Those videos get the best views. So, you want to be upset with me, and you want to, comment bomb me, basically, about how crappy you think my opinion is. But at the same time, you've given me 586 views in 16 hours. Whereas I post constant positive stuff on the internet. It's that's why everybody posts hateful stuff, because they get the views, and then once they get the views, they get the money,
Right.
It's very frustrating. It's you guys don't even realize that, I'm not going to do that, but you don't even realize that, you're perpetuating that negativeness by giving me that like, you give me that much views and then you shit all over me, but you're giving me all, like, it's just, I don't know. It's fucking stupid. And yeah, I had that Warframe video. It's up to almost 100. I had some negative things in that. Nobody said anything negative. And there was a couple of things that I said that I got wrong. I straight up got wrong. And like, I didn't get shit. But Monster Hunter, man, they all came out. They all came out with their pitchforks for me this weekend.
I mean, views is views.
Right.
But at the same time, like, yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, looking outside in, and I'm not insulting what you just said, but looking outside in, it's easy to be like, ah, man, just take the views and walk. But it's another thing when you're waking up Sunday morning to 24 YouTube notifications, which I never ever have had that, and all of them are outwardly like, you're wrong, your opinion sucks, this is stupid, bullshit, like. And I was telling Philbilly today, what made it sad is I was like, the real surprise effect that it had on me, because at the end of the day, I don't really care that they have a problem with me, Like,
right.
We're going to do our shows the way we do our shows. That's how we do them. And that's it. I wasn't even that negative, but if I have negative stuff to say, I'm going to say it. Like, I have a YouTube channel. That's what I do.
Right.
And we're getting the views, so whatever. But what was weird is it actually made me not want to play Monster Hunter World 2 when it comes out. It made me not want to play Monster Hunter games anymore because it had such a toxic reaction from the community. Like, it's like, man, it did. It actually was like, man, if these are the people that I play with when I play, I don't know that I want to play anymore. Like if that's how you people are about this game, I don't know that I want to do it anymore. I would much rather be in communities that are okay with some light, very light criticism.